another video. So today we're back here for another speed build, and today we're going to go ahead and create this one called OAKENSTEAD Estate. So if you'd like to go ahead and download this for yourself, it will be up on the gallery. My origin ID is RealThomasTV1, and I'll go ahead and put a link in the description to the online gallery if that's an easier way for you to download things. And yeah, so like I said, this is called OAKENSTEAD Estate. I mean, such an original name, I know. Now this was actually on, well, this lot, if you don't know, in Willow Creek is called OAKENSTEAD, and I wasn't really too sure what to call it, and I've been having that problem actually with a few builds recently. I've just kind of been running out of titles because I've done, like, you know, the traditional family home, this particular style, blah blah blah, family home, that sort of thing. So sometimes if I'm doing a build that's maybe a similar theme to something I've done before, I normally go ahead and use an actual real life title sort of thing, like an actual house name or something. But again, it's just kind of one of those things where I kind of try to think of a theme for it. If not, then I'll go for one of those. So it's kind of like a mix really, because I'm kind of using an in-game house name. And yeah, so this has 4 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. Now I'm going to class this as a mansion because it's only 50 by 50, but that is kind of, I don't know if you would say that's a lot of bedrooms or not, because it will fit 8 Sims because they're all double beds, but at the same time it's kind of, it sounds like a low number of bedrooms for a big mansion. So I don't know, it does fit the, you know, the maximum amount of Sims, but you know, if you have people who want their own room themselves, then maybe you could add another one in. And there's actually a really good fix around this actually, because I did do this guest house in the back garden in the back left hand corner, which you'll see later, and I do actually go ahead and make that into the study. So what you could do, because there is a computer elsewhere in the build in one of the bedrooms, and there's also kind of spaces and hallways and stuff, you could put a desk with the computer on, you could change that guest house into another bedroom if you wanted to, if you need the space, because like I said, it does fit 8 Sims, but if you want somebody to have their own bedroom, then maybe not. So that's a kind of workaround for that. And yeah, so we're just going around now kind of doing the landscaping and stuff, and getting the terrain paint in. And as you saw there, I did do a tiny little bit of terrain editing for the garage. Now, what I used to do was, I used to just do a ramp, which is, I've also had a few people ask me that as well, how I do that ramp thing, and all I do is just use a roof. It's just one of those half gabled roofs, I think it is, and I kind of just use that to make sort of like a slope going up to the garage door. So that's what I normally use. But you know, now I have terrain tools, I'd just go ahead and just make a slight little incline in the terrain and have that go up to the garage door. Now sometimes it does kind of just gets a little bit frustrating sometimes, because sometimes the car doesn't actually sort of level out right with it, and the car will be kind of floating a little bit. So you know, sometimes you could just leave the car off the drive. And also as well, I get a lot of questions about that. The cars I use in my builds are just toy cars from the kids menu, and I just kind of size it up. So you know, that's just kind of make it look a bit more, you know, on the realism side of things. But you know what, you can go ahead and take it out if it bothers you. But I kind of, you know, worked around it a little bit at the end to try and make it look like it's not floating, but I think it turned out alright in the end. And yeah, so we're just going around now doing a little bit of terrain paint again, like I was just saying. Sometimes I kind of show you more than others, or that doesn't make sense. Yeah, more than other builds, I suppose. But this build didn't take me that long actually. I can't remember how long it took me, because I did build this a little while ago. Like, I built like exterior a little while ago, and then I came back to it. So I think it's definitely less than 2 hours. I can't exactly remember though, because the interior that I did today, I did it in like one sitting, which I don't normally do, and I'm pretty sure it only took me about an hour, less than an hour, to do this entire interior of the build. So you know, somewhere around that price range. People always ask me in the comment section about how long did this particular build take me to do, and I always used to say the build time in my actual voiceovers, but recently I haven't been doing it because I'm very ahead of my schedule at the minute, which means that when I come to do the voiceover, I've done the actual build probably a week to 2 weeks ago, so I can't really remember as much about the build until it actually comes back up on my screen as I'm doing the voiceover, if that makes sense. So that sort of thing I kind of don't really say that much, but you know, I do when I can remember. And yeah, so we're just going around now doing a little bit of Ivy and stuff. Now the thing is with Ivy, I've mentioned this before, but I don't really tend to do it a lot because I can sometimes overdo it and it looks really messy. But that particular red swatch worked really well with kind of the dark colour scheme that's going on in the entire build, so that's what I'm doing here. And also as well, my last couple of builds have been on the darker colour schemes, like using really dark wood flooring and stuff like that, and just a dark colour scheme overall on the outside and stuff. And I think it's because I do so many light coloured scheme builds that I just kind of wanted to switch things up a little bit. So I've kind of just been doing a lot of darker colour schemes recently, which is nice because it just switches it up a little bit from what I normally do. And you can also see that I was going to go ahead and put a basement in, Now, this is also another workaround you can do, because I did end up go ahead and taking the basement out, but like I was saying before about having, you know, if you're having like a big family or something, then maybe this won't be the right amount of bedrooms for you. Well, you know, there is that thing I was saying about the study in the back garden that you could change into a bedroom, or you could go ahead and just put a basement in, because as you saw where I put those stairs, you could go ahead and put those stairs back in where that is, and you can go ahead and make a basement and put a few more rooms and stuff down there if you want to, so that's another workaround. And yeah, so we're back on the exterior now. I kind of go a little bit all over the place really, to kind of just switching things up here and there, just to keep it a little bit more interesting for me as I'm kind of doing builds, especially with bigger ones. So I'm not just doing the same thing over and over again. So in today's build, as you can see, we are using the windows from the Strangerville game pack. Now I haven't really used these windows anywhere else apart from my Strangerville videos, and I kind of realised that they do have a really nice kind of sort of like a neutral theme to it, I guess you could call it. I don't know what the word is, but kind of where it kind of fits a range of different themes, so it fits really nicely into Strangerville, and it fits nicely into this type of more traditional looking build as well. So I really wanted to go ahead and try it just to see what it was like. I just kind of switched it up from the cats and dogs windows that I always tend to use, and I actually really love them, so I'm probably going to use them a little bit more. Now it is very, very traditional, I would say. Now I kind of go for more of like a sort of like a mix between traditional and modern. I kind of go in between, where it's more of like I do a lot of traditional looking houses which have a lot of like updated interiors, so not really ultra modern, but sort of like, you know, in between, I guess you could call it. So those windows are a little bit more on the traditional side from what I would normally choose, but you know, I gave it a go today and I actually really like it, so I might go ahead and use it a little bit more. And yeah, so the other thing as well I was going to say is that I don't know if I showed you a little bit of the kind of floor plan of me working out the floor plan, because what I always do is in builds is I just stop recording on things I'm going to know that I'm going to cut out, which is the bathrooms, choosing the wall coverings and flooring tiles, and also the floor plan, because the floor plan can sometimes be a little bit tedious and sort of you kind of have to put a lot of thought into it sometimes to try and get it to work, and when the camera's rolling or the screen recorder's going, you kind of feel a little bit of pressure towards that. So normally I just kind of do it all off screen so I can focus on it and not be put off by the camera. Even if I know I'm going to cut it out and the camera's still rolling, I don't know, it's weird. I know a lot of people are like that as well who do speed builds who I've talked to before. But yeah, so I did go ahead and for today do a little bit different and kind of showed you a tiny little bit. I don't think I showed you all of it. Thinking back now, I don't know if you know if I included it in the speed build because I wasn't paying attention before, but I'm pretty sure I saw a little glimpse of the me doing the floor plan. But if you want to kind of see, well, the thing is, I was going to do a floor plan tutorial, but then again I was kind of looking around YouTube and I saw that a lot of people have done that before, so I feel like what's the point of doing something that, you know, people have just said the same thing before. So I kind of didn't decide to do it, but maybe in the future I might just show you in a speed build video itself and kind of just not cut it out. But you know, I'll just have to decide. Let me know what you think about that. Or if you just have any questions regarding it, then, you know, feel free to let me know in the comment section. I'll just answer those separately. And yeah, so this is the kitchen dining room. I actually really like this room. So it's kind of got that contrast between kind of the dark woods with the flooring and windows and the light coloured kind of why can't I think of the word? The light coloured wall coverings, there we go. And also the light coloured sort of cabinets as well and counters. They're not really, I don't know, if they've kind of got lighter countertops and then the actual counters themselves are a little bit darker. Just kind of got a nice sort of mix. And I actually really like this area too here with the dining table, the nice pop of yellow colour. Also a piano in the bar as well. I do that a lot if there is the space for it in builds, because if you like to have more kind of dinner parties or just for a more formal occasion that you seem to having or something, then, you know, that's good for that. And we're just going around doing a little bit of sort of figuring out where I wanted the dining table to go, because it was kind of a very sort of cramped area there with all those, you know, with the bar, the piano and the dining table, but I managed to get it work in the end. And then I went ahead and edited the staircase here because I realised that it was the staircase which has got knocked back into it. Like, how do you describe that? So I've got the slats in it, I guess you could call it. I think that's what that staircase is actually called, something with that word in it. And you can just see through it. So I thought, you know what, for interior, I feel like it might be better to choose one of the other ones. So I did go ahead and think it was a base game one, or was it Get Together? I can't exactly remember, but that's all I went ahead and chose. I can't speak today. And this one right here is just another bedroom. And I actually really like doing this thing where I kind of take the whatever kind of the exterior wall covering is of that particular room. So for example, in this particular room here, it was that sort of brown coloured siding that was on the upper floor on the outside, and I kind of bring it to the interior sort of like what you do sometimes with the stone walls and builds, which I do a lot, but kind of using it as like a feature wall behind the bed and stuff. Now, it's sort of a little bit odd having siding as a feature wall and not like, you know, sort of like stone or something, but it kind of looks kind of nice. It's a little bit different. It doesn't really make sense that much, but I've seen nobody complaining about it, so, you know, it's something a little bit different, which is always good. And yeah, so this is the kind of guest house sort of thing, which has changed into the study. I did this because we're kind of running out of space for bedrooms, and I didn't want to kind of reduce the amount of bedrooms anymore, so I went ahead and put it in here. And I have done it like this for a few of my recent builds. I don't know if all of them are up yet, because I do have a few that I've already recorded that are going up after this. So I'm not too sure if you've seen it before, but you know what, it's just another little thing to switch things up. And again, like I said, if you need the space for it, then you can go ahead and just change that out for another bedroom. There are kind of a lot of hallway spaces and sort of corridors and stuff which have their own little seating areas in, because a lot of the corridors downstairs at least are pretty big, like going towards the living rooms. So you can go ahead and kind of just sort of make that into a little kind of communal sort of study room, I guess I could call it. And yeah, so I just said living rooms. Now, I don't know if I've worked on both of them yet, but I do actually, for a lot of builds that are kind of bigger like this, I do like to go ahead and put an informal living room and also like a more formal one. So where the garage is in this build, I went ahead and changed that into more of an informal one, so it has like the TV and, you know, just sort of, I think I put like a dartboard in there and like a gaming table or something. And then there's also the more formal one, which just has like a nice fancy fireplace and doesn't have a TV in it. So, you know, you can kind of play around with that and change it up if you need to though. So just for reference as well, I'm recording this voiceover on the 6th of March. I think this is going up on the 8th. Now, since I do have been pre-recording quite a lot recently, and just because I just like to be ahead of my schedule, because when things come up, it's kind of like, oh, I'm gonna sort of like adds worry to getting that video up that day, so I always like to be ahead of my schedule. So since I am doing that, I just like to kind of mention when I'm doing the voiceover and stuff, just for reference, because what's happened in the past is that I've done voiceovers like, you know, previously, or like in advance, so I guess you could call it, and then like we'll get a pack announcement or something, and then I go ahead and upload that video anyway, and then some things I say might not make sense, or that like just as an example. So that's why I go ahead and just tell you the day I'm doing the voiceover. And yeah, so I was also kind of doing the interior today of this build, and also a total like random thing, but today as well I went through a drive-through for the first time. Now I know a few people have, like, I've seen this before as well, where it's sort of like, I don't know, like, I've been driving for nearly a year, but I've never been through a drive-through before. I noticed that. So I went to McDonald's this morning because I've never kind of been in a while, and I thought, you know what, I just want to go ahead and give the drive-through a go because it wasn't busy, and I'm always kind of nervous I'm going to like bump my car on like a bollard or something, so I've just never been through. But I was kind of near the local McDonald's doing some shopping this morning, so I thought, you know what, let's go ahead and go through. So I brought my coffee and I came home to finish off this build. So yeah, no, it's actually totally fine. So if you're a new driver worried about going through drive-thrus, then don't worry, because it was absolutely fine. And I say new driver, but I have been driving for a year, but I've never been through a drive-thru for some reason. I don't know why, but there we go. So we're just working on this room here, which I believe is actually the last room in this build. And I wasn't actually going to class this as the master bedroom. It was the one I did before, which had like the big fireplace from cats and dogs in it. And also I believe it was the same bed as this room. But then I kind of looked at this room and I was like, oh, well, this has its own ensuite. Well, actually, the other room did as well. But this one has, again, another fireplace, but it also has it's just a bit like a bigger area, I guess you could call it, because it has its own study sort of area as well, and some other things too. And I think, yeah, it does actually have a seating area next to the fireplace, and also another seating area in that kind of back corner there as well. So I thought, you know what, this is the bigger room, and it also has a fireplace and an ensuite, so I guess this could be the master bedroom. And I say that because normally I don't decide what's going to be the master bedroom in my build, because a lot of the rooms are fairly neutral, or one thing has something better than another, and then it will kind of be, you know, vice versa. So it's always really hard to decide what to be the master bedroom or not. So normally I leave that up to you, but this, if I had to pick one, would probably be the master. And yes, so I'm going to go ahead and leave this voiceover here. I really hope you enjoyed. In the comment section down below, let me know about what you thought of this build. If you have any more suggestions for builds or mansions or anything else you want to see next, that'd be really helpful to hear. And also, I just went ahead and put this screenshot in. I was going to mention it earlier in the voiceover, but you saw that. I don't know why I get that glitch of like where you can see the upper floor. It's really random and really annoying, so let me know if you have that as well, because I don't know what the fix is for that, but it makes screenshots sometimes a little bit of a pain. But anyway, I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!